Harmony between suffering and the path, an Eastern perspective on transformation, awakening through pain. What if each fall were, in fact, an invitation from the universe to awaken? What if each stumble were silently sculpting your original Buddha nature? Most people live as if walking through the fog of ignorance, stumbling, lamenting, and questioning why the path is so uneven. But the masters of the East knew, and you too can begin to realize, there is no loose stone on the path of the Tao. No tear is wasted. No delay contradicts the natural flow of things. You may not see it yet, but there's a design being drawn by the invisible hand of karma, a pattern that reveals itself little by little, like a lotus flower emerging from the mud. While many curse fate, Eastern sages practice wu-wei action in non-action, not out of resignation, but out of a profound understanding that everything teaches, everything prepares, everything reveals the interdependent nature of all things. Today I will guide you through a journey of awareness that integrates the ancient wisdom of the East, not the eyes of haste or fear, but the eyes of one who practices deep contemplation. Nothing arises or perishes in vain. When you embody this truth through daily meditation, anxiety dissolves into mindful presence, chaos transforms into the natural flow of the Tao, and even pain acquires the dignity of a Zen master. Before we continue, pause for 3 conscious breaths and, if you wish, write in the comments, "I trust in the Tao that flows through my path." Everything has a meaning in the cosmic tapestry. This phrase is not just a statement, it's a pact with your own enlightened nature. It's the choice to live with hours, mindfulness, accepting with metta, loving kindness, and acting with wisdom, deep wisdom. There is a hidden wisdom in everything that life brings us, although at first glance, many of its movements seem random or even cruel. The human being, trapped in the illusion of the ego, ahamkara, attempts to understand, control, and explain everything through the conceptual mind. However, there are events that cannot be translated by limited intellect. They arrive as koan zen, enigmas that disrupt our inner order, shatter expectations, and push us into the fertile void where the ego can no longer offer answers. It is in this realm of not knowing that the true spiritual path begins. The universe does not speak with words, but through pratyasamutpada, the interdependent origin of all things. When a plan fails, when someone leaves, when an obstacle paralyzes us, it's as if the Dharma is whispering to us, "Pay attention. Here is something that your small self does not yet understand, but your Buddha nature needs to embrace." A mind programmed to see only what is immediate, Maya, the illusion, often calls bad luck what is actually the precise maturing of karma. It calls chaos what is merely the natural dance of to-do, and which it is reorganizing itself. But nothing is random in a cosmos that sustains entire galaxies through the perfect balance of the 5 elements. The life that pulsates within you is part of that same cosmic rhythm, even when everything seems out of sync. Eastern philosophy offers us a powerful balm against the anguish of the inexplicable, conscious non-attachment, not as empty indifference, but as the wisdom of one who recognizes that there are greater forces at play. Brahman, the Tao, the Buddha nature, acting through every circumstance. The Bhagavad Gita teaches, "You are entitled to the action, but not to the fruits of the action." This is the essence of non-attachment, doing what must be done with total presence, but completely letting go of the result. Acceptance is an act of supreme courage, not passivity. It is the internal gesture of Shoshi, beginner's mind, that trusts in the wisdom of the universe, even when it cannot yet be understood by the linear mind. The Buddha taught that we do not control events, only how we interpret them through the filter of our own minds, samskara, mental impressions. And this simple truth has the power to transform the entire way we live. We are conditioned to build plans, pursue goals, conquer territories, but little is said about what to do when everything falls apart. Eastern wisdom teaches us that these moments are not interruptions on the path, they are the path itself. What seems like a mistake may be a karmic correction. What we call a loss may actually be a moksha, liberation. And what we interpret as failure may be the secret door to experiencing our true nature beyond the ego. Like the waves in the ocean that rise and fall, each experience has a precise place in the flow of our evolution. The Heart Sutra reminds us, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. What you call injustice today may tomorrow be recognized as the necessary rupture, their solution divine intention that allowed the birth of a new consciousness. The spiritual practitioner does not seek to understand everything immediately. He places himself before the mystery with namaste, reverence, and firmness, knowing that even in the deepest darkness, there is the light of consciousness. The secret lies in ceasing to fight against the inevitable flow of the Tao. Life was not made to obey the scripts of the ego. It follows the average cosmic order, and we are just a wave in this infinite ocean. When we stop trying to control every detail through willpower, we open up space for wu-wei, spontaneous action that flows naturally. A new perspective emerges from inner silence. We begin to recognize that there is coherence even in what seems confusing, that there is beauty, flavor. Even in what hurts, there is profound meaning, even in what we do not yet intellectually understand. It is in this state of dhyana, deep meditation, that life begins to reveal itself more clearly. We begin to remember that many of the pains we experienced in the past were, through the refinement of time, transformed into joy, vital force. That the delays, the detours, and the closed doors pushed us to places we would never have chosen of our own accord, but which proved fundamental to the maturation of the soul. Nothing was in vain. No tears were wasted. No delays contradicted the prarabdha karma that is being executed in this life. Eastern wisdom reminds us that we are cells of a larger cosmic organism, and that the harmony of this organism is not always visible in individual detail. When suffering becomes the master. Dukkhas, a portal life, doesn't shout truths. It whispers them through experiences. And its deepest, most transformative lessons rarely arrive dressed in fleeting joy. They come in silence, covered by the cloak of suffering, with the eyes of impermanence and the lips of the unforeseen. They seem unfair, cruel, or unnecessary the moment they knock on the door, but with time, they reveal their true identity. They are regurus disguised, sent not to punish us, but to dissolve the layers of avidya, ignorance, that covers our original nature. The Buddha proclaimed as his first noble truth, life contains suffering. But this is not a pessimistic teaching. It is an accurate diagnosis that paves the way for healing. Nothing that hurts you happens by chance in the flow of karma. And what hurts you most, paradoxically, is what pushes you most inward, towards your Atman, the true self. The obstacle that stands in your way is not a flaw in the cosmic fabric. It is tapas, purifying heat. It arises at the exact karmic moment when you need to stop running away through sensory distractions, stop postponing the inner journey, break free from samsara, cycle of birth and death, that no longer serves your awakening. Eastern wisdom understands this movement with a clarity that transcends dualistic thinking. Suffering is not divine punishment. It is the refinement of consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that everything that happens is an expression of Lila, cosmic game, divine, and serves the greater purpose of the soul's evolution. This vision is not passive, it is revolutionary. Because when we accept that each stumble has a defined place in the architecture of Dharma, we stop resisting what shapes us through necessary friction. Suffering then ceases to be something that happens to us externally and begins to be recognized as sadhana, spiritual practice, that works on dissolving the ego. Each blow ceases to be a threat and becomes a tool for sculpting enlightenment. Each tear, abhishek, sacred baptism. Every loss, a necessary pruning in the garden of consciousness. If something affects you deeply, it's because it touched a certain grantha, psychic knot, an unhealed wound in the subtle body, or a samskara, still in the process of purification. When someone rejects you and it tears you apart, perhaps the greatest pain isn't in the external rejection, but in your own dependence on validation. The attachment to asmita, sense of self. When failure paralyzes you, the real obstacle is not the manifested error, but the identification of consciousness with the results. Forgetting that you are Thesakshi, witness, eternal, not the temporary actor. Life, with a surgical precision that rivals that of a Zen master with Hiskyosaku, the awakening stick, leads us to confront exactly what we fear most. And that's how it awakens us from illusion. Adversity is the most honest mirror there is. In it, we are forced to face ourselves without the masks of the ego, without social personas, without the distractions of the senses. Material comfort may keep us asleep, but it is in the furnace of suffering that we discover our imperishable nature. Like bamboo bent by a storm that becomes more flexible, like jade polished by constant friction, we are pushed inward when everything around us seems to threaten to crumble. And there, in the center of meditative darkness, something ignites, our jyoti, inner light, the flame of consciousness that has never been touched by suffering. Lao Tzu taught, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." Adversity forces us to this profound self-knowledge. No mask can survive the purifying fire of genuine pain. Difficulties do not define us. They remove the veil of Miyamoto, reveal who we've always been beyond temporary identities. That which endures within you when everything breaks down outside, that which remains when all identities have been stripped away, that is Atman, its immortal essence. The most common mistake is to assume that life punishes us through suffering, but it does not punish through moral judgment. It refines through the natural process of the maturing of consciousness. Just as fire hardens clay into durable pottery, as wind strengthens tree roots, as stone is polished by the river through millennia, suffering shapes us. Every loss teaches us non-attachment, detachment. Each stay demands vinaya, humility. Every failure requires viveka, renewed discernment. It's not about always winning in the world of appearances, but about cultivating chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of mental fluctuations that Patanjali defines as the very essence of yoga. It is becoming someone who has learned to neglect equanimity, even in the face of apparent defeat. Imagine a warrior monk who only trained during times of peace in the monastery. He may seem strong in his sheltered routine, but he doesn't know how to maintain his composure. Zenshin, awareness, when the ground trembles beneath your feet. Now imagine another who had to fight exhausted, wounded, alone in the darkness, but remained standing through the strength of Hera, vital center. It is this second one that knows the true power that is born from the integration of body, mind, and spirit. Similarly, spiritual character is not formed in the tranquil days of superficial meditation, but in existential storms. The Tao Te Ching reminds us, "He who remains flexible like bamboo will not be broken by the storm." It is natural to want to escape suffering through sensory pleasures or mental distractions, but Eastern wisdom invites us to do the opposite, to face it with ahimsa, nonviolence, towards oneself and conscious dignity. Looking difficulty in the eye and asking, not with anger, but with genuine curiosity, "What have you come to teach me, disguised master?" This simple change of dristai, direction of gaze, transforms the suffering of an enemy into teacher, and where before there was only vesha, aversion, and resisted pain, is born wisdom, transcendental wisdom. There are pains that you don't yet understand intellectually, but one day when you look back through the lens of meditation and introspection, you will realize that they were pains, Setubandha, Sage Bridges, that led you to states of consciousness you would never have reached if everything had happened according to the plan of the small self. Life doesn't want to destroy you through suffering. It wants to awaken you beyond identification with form. And sometimes awakening only happens after an inner earthquake that crumbles all the structures of the ego. How many times has what seemed festival, dissolution, end, was revealed, creation, beginning of a new cycle? How many times has abandonment forced you to find refuge in the only inexhaustible source, Theatman within oneself? How many times has apparent injustice been the only possible way to escape a comfort zone that had become a gilded prison? This is how we grow spiritually, not with ready-made recipes from self-help authors, but with authentic falls and restarts. Not with empty promises of eternal happiness, but with real life teaching us, in the hardest way, to be real too, to inhabit our naked truth. From today onward, no longer view your trials as negative karmic punishments. View them as diksha, initiations. Each one brought you closer to the realization of the self, even when you only felt the pain of separation. Each one brought you closer to the understanding of you are welcome, you are that, the ultimate identity between the individual and the universal. What burns today like a purifying fire will tomorrow be a scar that tells the story of your journey. And each scar is a tilaka, sacred mark, invisible. You survived, you learned through direct experience, you grew towards your Buddha nature. Suffering, when encountered with meditative awareness, is shaped by our interpretation, and that interpretation is in your hands like a sculptor holds the chisel. If you want, you can view pain as nirvana, extinction of the ego. But you can also choose it as a starting point for bodhi, awakening, like a stern but loving teacher, like an impulse that breaks the eggshell to allow the bird of consciousness to finally fly free, like a shaper of its brahmacharya, divine conduct. The encounters that weave our karmic tapestry. Some presences don't pass away. Even after they physically depart, they remain in the subtle field of consciousness. And I'm not just talking about superficial mental memories, but something deeper recorded in chitta, mental substance, an echo in akasha, ether, that changes the tone of our vibration, the rhythm of our steps on the path, the direction of our resolution, deep intention. There are encounters that happen in seconds on a linear timeline, but transform kalpas, cosmic eras, of the soul's maturation. People who arrive unannounced, stay just long enough to plant karmic seeds, and then leave, leaving a mark on our causal body that no physical distance can erase. However much our analytical mind tries to rationalize through coincidences, the truth seen through the eyes of jnana, knowledge, is crystal clear. No one crosses our path by accident in the flow of karma. Each person, each darshan, vision, sacred encounter, each word exchanged has a specific place in mandala of our soul's journey through existence. There is an invisible choreography of pratyasamutpada, interdependent origin, that unites stories through subtle threads of cause and effect, even when we cannot see the complete web. Eastern philosophy knew this with the certainty that comes from deep meditation. For the ancient rishis, wise men, the world was not a chaotic scenario where everything collided randomly, but a harmonious structure of rita, cosmic order, where each piece has its precise function, including those that hurt and challenge us the most. The other person, whoever they may be, is a mirror that reflects aspects of ourselves. Sometimes this mirror reflects sattva, luminous quality, the most illuminated part that we potentially carry. Sometimes it reveals tamas, the dark quality, the shadow we would rather not acknowledge as our projection. When someone awakens in mudita, shared joy, maitri, romantic friendship, or uplifting inspiration, it's because it ignited something that already dwelt silently like embers under ashes within you. When someone hurts you through words or actions, it's because they touched a samskara, mental impression, not yet purified, a sensitive point in basket's layer, emotional that calls for conscious attention, not reactive condemnation. The Buddha reminded us through his sutras that it is not external events that disturb us, but the sankhara, mental formations, and the interpretations we construct about them. The same applies to people and relationships. It is not the other person who controls us through some magical power, but the automatic reaction we choose, or rather, which arises conditioned by our vasanas, latent tendencies, to be aware of what it awakens in our energy field. Each encounter, therefore, is a precious opportunity to svadhyaya, self-study. The one who criticizes you harshly reveals how much you still nurture, ahankara, ego, and depends on external approval to feel valid. The one who constantly challenges you highlights how much you need to strengthen yourself, forgiveness, patience, and titikshaya, tolerance. The one who supports you unconditionally confirms that you are worthy of, according to, divine love, even when the ego temporarily forgets about it. The Bhagavad Gita recognized the value of coexistence as an essential part of loka samgraha, collective evolution. For Krishna, even those who hurt us have a role in our spiritual development. This integrated view changes everything in the way we relate to each other. Instead of judging others through the dual filter of good-bad based on their superficial actions, we begin to observe with witness feeling, witness consciousness, what each bond awakens in us and what aspect of our annihilate, internal organ, is requesting maturation through this interaction. It's not about being naive or passively accepting abuses that violate ahimsa, nonviolence, but about reading each relationship as a symbolic message written in the language of karma that life delivers with surgical precision. There are people who arrive as ashrama, spiritual refuge. Others, such as fire examination, test by fire. Some teach us through madhurya, sweetness. Others with the severity of a Zen master wielding his staff. Some ignite in us the buddhi, superior intellect, and hope. Others tear us apart until we find strength in our hara, vital center, where there was only kaisal, affliction, and existential weariness. Linear time does not measure the depth of a karmic encounter. There are loves that last seasons but leave marks that transcend yugas, eras. There are friendships that are born in adarshan, meeting of eyes, and survive the greatest distances of samsara. There are adversaries who force us to grow like no other. Teacher, a benevolent person, could achieve this through gentle teachings alone. Who looks with haste of rajas, active, agitated quality, sees only faces and fleeting forms. But those who learn to see with meditation, meditative vision, realizes that each person carries adharma, specific role, function, in the cosmic theater, sometimes as medicine that heals, sometimes as a thorn that awakens, and neither of these functions is lesser or more important in the cosmic economy. The master who guides us with explicit teachings and the adversary who provokes us with implicit challenges. Both teach, each in their own way, the lessons we need to integrate at that precise moment in our evolutionary journey. There are no accidents in this mandala of relationships. And how many times was what we call betrayal, rejection, or a painful ending actually? Moksha, liberation, that we wouldn't have the courage to choose on our own through willpower? The friend who walks away following their own dharma, the love that ends fulfilling its karmic cycle, the relative who disappoints us by shattering idealized projections, all, in their own way, push us inward toward Thiatman. They force us to cultivate svadhyaya, self-awareness, and an emotional autonomy that we might never develop if everything were easy, constant, and predictable like a monastic routine, without challenges. Eastern philosophy invites us to move away from the passive role of victim in relationships, to not react because samskara conditioned drive, but to be observed with hours, mindfulness, and meditative presence. The difficult person is our tapasya, austerity, diary of forgiveness, patience. The romantic partner is a living reminder of the importance of kritagyata, deep gratitude. The stranger who crosses our path for a moment can, with a phrase full of pranao or a simple gesture, to awaken in us a new resolution, direction. No interaction is small in the web of Indrajala, Indra's network. No encounter is irrelevant in the fabric of karma. Of course, not everyone remains physically, nor does everyone deserve to stay in the inner circle, but even those who leave, and perhaps especially them, leave a mark. Was seed, in the subtle field of consciousness, something that will only blossom with time when we are able to understand through maturity what they truly represented in our lives, sadhana. The yoga, goodbye separation, from someone can teach you more about according to divine love, rather than constant presence that generates attachment. Absence teaches us non-attachment, detachment, and to value the present moment. The pain of abandonment teaches us raksha, protection, of our own energy boundaries. Prolonged coexistence teaches us sahishnuta, tolerance. Shravana, deep listening, understanding, genuine understanding. How often do we admire in someone else what we are still trying to develop as latent potential within ourselves? How often do we reject in others through dvesha, aversion? What do we still lack the courage to confront as our own unintegrated shadow? The other acts as deepa, lamp, that reveals what is hidden within us in the deepest layers of chitta, what awakens shraddha, reverent admiration, reveals dormant potential. What generates visceral repulsion reveals unexamined resistance. What provokes karuna, compassion, reveals our Buddha nature. And all of this is alchemical gold of practical philosophy, if we know how to listen with the ears of the heart. Therefore, instead of labeling others as right or wrong through dualistic judgment, good or bad through rigid categories, begin to ask yourself with genuine curiosity, what is this encounter trying to show me about myself? What aspect of my being needs to be awakened through this mirror? This question, asked in the stillness of meditation, transforms relationships from battlefields into tools of abhyasa, spiritual practice, frees us from reaction, reactivity, and gives us the power of consciousness, awakened consciousness. Not every bond will be lasting on the manifested plane, nor should every tie be maintained indefinitely, but every relationship can be used as a sadhana practice of growth and a mirror of self-knowledge. And when this awareness takes firm root through consistent practice, even the most painful goodbyes become easier. Pavitrata, sacred dignity. What seemed like cruel abandonment reveals its dharma, mission accomplished. What seemed like betrayal shows where trust needs deeper roots, not in the quicksand of the external, but in the solid rock of the Atman interior. Eastern wisdom does not ask us to isolate ourselves in a cave or ivory tower. On the contrary, it invites us to live in Sangha, community, with viveka, discernment, kritagyata, gratitude, and atma niyantrana, self-control. The human soul does not develop in complete isolation. It needs the other as a mirror to see itself reflected and to refine itself through friction. Every person who crosses your path is a chance to self-confidence, in self-investigation, of samskara purification, purification of impressions, of chitta prasadana, refinement of consciousness. And when this perception becomes as natural as breathing, the neurotic fear of relationships gives way to shraddha, confident reverence. Because life doesn't place you in random relationships, it puts you with millimeter precision where you need to be touched, shaken, or illuminated for the next stage of awakening. The rhythm of Tao, the wisdom of the right time, Kairos. There are truths that pierce the illusions of the ego before liberating consciousness, and perhaps none hurts the small self as much as this one. We are not masters of time. No matter how much we insist on planning with the arrogance of ahamkarato, anticipate with the anxiety of vikalpa, conceptual thinking, or speeding things up through egoic desire, life follows. Try again, FD. Continue your own average, cosmic order, and it is never late. Nothing happens too early. Nothing arrives after the time set by destiny. What happens happens when it should, at the exact moment of karmic maturity. And when this truth is finally accepted, not as an intellectual concept, but as anubhava, lived experience, A is born within ushanti, serenity, that no hasty achievement can offer. The human mind, dominated by rajas, active, restless quality, is hungry for control and predictability. It wants the fruits to grow the moment we plant them, ignoring the seasons. It wants paths to open up at the first step, forgetting that bamboo spends years developing roots before growing meters in weeks. It wants the answers to arrive even before the questions are ripe in the soil of consciousness. But life, silent as a Zen master in meditation and firm as the Himalayas, refuses to dance to the rhythm of our neurotic urgencies. It does not bend to Trishna, thirst, greed. She doesn't negotiate with haste. Rajas, she practices wu-wei, the non-action that acts perfectly, waiting for the moment of complete maturation. And the right moment is almost never the one the anxious mind expects. Because kairos, qualitative time, opportune moment, perfect, does not cater to whims or vasanas, desires based on past impressions, fulfill the needs of the soul's evolution. What you want may be as beautiful as a cherry blossom, but if it arrives too soon, it may crush you under its weight. The love you crave through where desire, perhaps it still requires you to learn atma prema, self-love, first through self-discovery. The opportunity you're begging the universe for might require adhairya, inner courage, that is still being forged in silence in the furnaces of adversity. The recognition you so desperately seek through external validation may depend on avinaya, humility, that only comes after the fall that breaks the pride of the ego. The Tao Te Ching teaches that everything happens according to the natural virtue, inner power of things. And if we receive what comes with prasada, graceful serenity, we will see that it could not have been otherwise. Each thing arises when its causes and conditions are ripe. This perception does not paralyze us in inaction. On the contrary, it realigns us with satya, truth, reality, gives us back the vinaya, humility, to walk step by step without wanting to skip roles, stages of development. Because each step is sacred, each delay is asamskara, preparation, each no is a secret reorganization orchestrated by Ishvara, Lord of Karma, which we are not yet able to comprehend with our limited vision. Nature teaches this all the time if we have eyes to see. No flower forces its blooming in neurotic despair. No season rushes to please the expectations of impatient gardeners. Winter remains the exact time the earth needs to rest and regenerate. The seed, even buried in the darkness of the earth, knows how to wait through its innate wisdom. Prana, vital heat. Right, ajoti, light, right. The instant when the damp earth opens up. And when that moment arrives through the natural flow, it blossoms with the naturalness of one who never doubted its svabhava, essential nature. But human beings, they despair through mental agitation. We lack shraddha, faith in the invisible. We want the fruit without respecting theritu, cycle season. We want to harvest without having practiced, titiksha, patience that tolerates extremes. And haste almost always leads us to the most painful place in existence. Viparyaya, illusion, frustration based on incorrect knowledge. A desire that is poorly synchronized with the right timing is a trap of hamkara, ego. Not because wanting is inherently wrong, desire has its place as initial fuel, but because ignoring the average cosmic rhythm of life is a form of avidya, ignorance, disguised as worldly ambition. How many times have you believed with absolute conviction that something should have happened at that precise moment? And today, looking back, you are grateful with tears of thankfulness that it didn't. How many doors closed by the universe prevented you from entering places that weren't yet aligned with your dharma, or in situations where you weren't yet ready to dwell with full awareness? Waiting, when viewed with meditation, meditative vision, it is rarely punishment. Is raksha kavaka, protective shield? Is yantra, instrument of refinement? Is salt, a gesture of grace, of existence for you? Eastern Stoicism invites us to inhabit the meditation, now integrated, with full presence. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that we have no control over porridge, fruits, results, only about karma, present action. And among all possible reactions to waiting, perhaps the noblest is faith, deep trust. Trusting is not passively giving up. It's continuing to walk with dharya firmness, without demanding shortcuts that violate the natural process. It is understanding through wisdom that time is not conspiring against us. It is preparing us through to paths, transformative heat. What is yours for prarabdha karma, the karma that is being executed, is already coming as a cosmic tide, but it needs you to be full, whole, complete in itself, to receive it without being destroyed by it. Asahajatvam, impatience, robs us viveka, discernment. When we demand that the universe speed up its cosmic clock, we cease to perceive the upahara, gifts, that are already around us in the present moment. The obsession with the future, is what prevents us from fully living the vartamana, eternal gift. And to live in the present with samyak smarana, correct recollection, mindfulness, is the only way to reach the future with shanti, peace. Wisdom at this point is twinned with forgiveness, patience. But be warned, patience is not Alaska, laziness, or lethargic passivity dominated by tamas. It's not about crossing our arms and waiting for life to serve us like lazy servants. It's about walking with nishtha, applied trust, doing what is our responsibility through karma yoga, action yoga, while we practice ishvara pranidhana, surrender to the divine, for the rest that will come when the time is appointed by destiny. It is the sacred balance between pravriti, action in the world, and samarpanam, delivery, between yes, effort applied, and sharanagati, complete surrender, between planting with resolution, clear intention, and reap with shraddha, with respect to time, to ritual field, wheel of the seasons. How many dreams have you been silently cultivating like seeds beneath the earth? How many goals seem too distant when measured by the yardstick of anxiety? How often do you compare yourself to others through irsya, envy, and thinks he's behind schedule? That comparison is pure Maya illusion. Each being has its own Kala chakra, time cycle. And what does it seem like? Vilambana, slowness, is often Gambhirya, depth. Deep roots take longer to penetrate the layers of soil, but they provide support trees throughout a lifetime through stormy seasons. The right time is not the easy time of instant gratification, but it is the samyak, perfectly aligned timing. And when it arrives through the complete maturation of conditions, you understand not only intellectually, but viscerally. You feel it in every cell. You fit with the world like a piece of mandala who has always been waiting for the moment to be placed in the right spot by the cosmic artist. So, the next time you feel like something is taking too long according to your anxiety clock, consciously breathe 3 times through pranayama. Look at the Akasha sky. Look inside through antarmukata, introspection, and remember, the universe never makes a mistake in its cosmic choreography. What is coming has not been lost in the cosmic mail. It is simply being precisely aligned through sangatana, perfect coordination. And you, in this between times, interval, is being prepared through sadhana invisible, because everything that is satya, true, arrives when you become able to receive it with kritagyata, deep gratitude, and paripakva, full maturity. The value of falls, transforming vipatti in property to fail. Few words carry so much karmic weight in the collective consciousness. As soon as we pronounce it, we already feel its bitter taste of clusters, discouragement, as if it were synonymous with a definitive end, with irreversible moral failure, with adogati, a fall with no return. Society has conditioned us, through samskara groups fear this word as one fears a spiritual death sentence. But the one who practices viveka, discriminative investigation, looks beyond the label and asks with the curiosity of a child, what is true about what we call failure through our limited interpretation? What does it reveal that superficial success does not show? What does it teach about our essential nature? Mistakes are not the end of the journey. They are the prathmanavya, initial draft, of the future agreement. The fall is not a loss of altitude. It is parivartan, transformation of direction. Failure, when viewed with prajna chakshu, eyes of wisdom, isn't it? Destruction, ruin, is rehabilitation, cosmic realignment. Life has a particular way of correcting our course when we stray from it. Svadharma, own responsibility. She doesn't use GPS or cartographic maps. She uses trouble, obstacles, and stumbles. Every path that doesn't unfold as planned, every plan that crumbles under the weight of reality, every expectation that collapses revealing its true nature. Resolution vikalpa, a mere mental construct. All of this is part of the process that distances us from that which does not belong to us. Dharma authentic. It's not a rejection of the universe. It's samyak samyojana, correct adjustment. And even when it hurts like purifying fire, it is a gesture of surgical precision from Ishvara, Lord of Karma. The Tao Te Ching teaches that even apparent detours are part of the main road. What you call an obstacle using the language of resistance is often the path itself disguised under the veil of Maya. That dristi parivartana, a change of perspective, transforms the way we experience our failures through the alchemy of consciousness. They cease to be vikadana, interruptions, and become animantrana, invitations, to look again with fresh eyes, to question the het, reasons, with brutal honesty, to rethink dreams that may never have been ours but were imported. Each disappointment, frustration, cleanses what was excessive ego-driven ambition. Each Brahma, error, removes what had no roots in truth. Every time something falls apart externally, something within us is strengthened internally if we remain conscious. The Bhagavad Gita taught that it is not what happens to us externally that defines us, but how we respond internally to it through buddhi, superior intellect. And failure, more than a temporary event, is a darpanam mirror. It reveals with merciless clarity that which we still cling to, brother fear, because damba vanity, or because mas illusion. And it also reveals what we are capable of punar nirmanam, to rebuild, when everything seems lost according to worldly standards. How many times have you felt like you failed miserably, only to discover later in hindsight that that failure opened doors? Dvara, unthinkable doors. How many times a yoga ending painful brought a mukti freedom that you didn't even know you had? Atman, how deeply did you desire it? How many times has an unexpected job loss paved the way for the life you always wanted deep down, but never had? Sahasam, courage to search. Failure, in truth, doesn't steal anything essential. It pratyarpayati, returns you to yours varupam, true form. It brings you back to what really matters beyond the social masks. Setbacks shouldn't be seen as vichadana, interruptions of the journey, but as part of its rahana, essential structure, such as earthquakes that open fissures through which the jyoti, light, enters, like storms that tear away shushka patrani, dead leaves, so that new ones may sprout, green and vibrant. What is broken teaches through direct experience, and what teaches transforms through integration. The Buddha said that we suffer more from our mental resistance than from reality itself. And failure is one of those phantoms that only grows in the darkness of the unexamined mind. We fear the loka ninda, judgment of others, the invisible social label, the mark of error. But in reality, true failure is not path to fall. True failure is to remain step property out of fear. If you close yourself off through narrow-minded, contraction, patience, giving up on the journey. Life can be as hard as a whetstone, but it doesn't punish through moral judgment. It shapes through necessary friction. And there is no more powerful mold than the one that is born from uthanam, conscious overcoming. When a plan fails according to our standards, it is often because it was built on anrita bidika, fragile foundations, dreams that were not originally their own, but imposed upon them, goals inherited from social conditioning, desires forced down their throats by samajika dabhavas, external pressures. Failure, in this case, is the only way to return you to your madhya bindu center. He breaks what was Bhranti, illusion, and on the ground, amidst the scattered shards, is born satya, naked truth. Who do you truly admire? What stories inspire you to tears? Take a closer look with meditation. They are all marked by vipatti, stumbles, name losses, dvarani rudani, doors closed. What makes them special is not the abhava, absence of flaws, but the forgiveness, ability, to transform each error into uttalakam, lever. The difference between those who grow through development and who stagnates, in jadata it is not bhagya, luck, is vyakhyanam, interpretation, is the mudra, posture, in the face of a fall. Failure doesn't diminish anyone's essence, but refusing to learn from failure through wounded pride is what prevents us from evolving. Eastern wisdom doesn't idealize worldly success. It values the drita, firmness, with which we rise through abhyasa, repeated practice, because it is in the fall that the atman, the soul, is tested in the fire, and in the overcoming that the character reveals itself like pure gold. Perhaps today you're looking at something that didn't turn out as expected. An attempt that failed according to external standards, a relationship that ended after its run, a project that didn't succeed as planned. And perhaps you're feeling like you've lost something. The very time, shakti, energy, asmita, identity. But listen with the ears of your heart. What breaks reveals hidden truth. The pain you feel now will belittle girl's scar, and the scar will be a living reminder that you survived through jivana, shakti, vital force, learned through anubhava, direct experience, and continued through dharya, courage. The fall, when welcomed with paripakva, maturity, teaches more than years of comfortable stability, because it is in instability that we become yathartham, real. In pain we become serious, deep. In failure we become pramanika, authentic, stripped of masks. So the next time something goes wrong according to your plans, ask yourself in silent meditation, what is this trying to show me that my limited vision hasn't yet seen? That it's over is the most aligned path being revealed? This question is worth more than 1,000 pieces of self-help advice. It transforms. Breakfast, loss, in I am purpose. Transforms path, fall. Infertile land, only fertile. Transforms sorrow, pain. Indicia, clear direction. Life doesn't want you permanently on the ground in defeat, but it knows, through its infinite wisdom, that sometimes it's on the ground that, at man, it restructures itself through the dismantling of the ego. Because the greatest Vijaya victory is not about never falling like a perfect tightrope walker. It's about being able to look at your own mistake with karuna, compassion, and say with gratitude, "It was in the dark valley that everything began to change. It was in the fall that I found my wings." The silent call of the universe, samkalpa and synchronicity. There are times when something seems to call to us through the veil of invisibility, even if no one utters an audible word. A number that insists on appearing, a Sankhya darshan, numerical view. A phrase that repeatedly finds you as mantra unsolicited. A name that resonates. A place that pulls you in. Chitta, consciousness. A symbol that returns as if it wanted to communicate something through the language of pratikam symbols, as if pointing in the direction of satyam marga, true path. Most eyes trained in the rush of Rajasis nothing but empty coincidences. But whoever learns Tvavadana, consciously slowing down, begins to realize the world speaks through lakshanam, signs, and speaks in the subtle language of synchronicity, what Jung called a causal connecting principle, but which Eastern cultures have known for millennia, a sadbhuta sambandha, wonderful connection. It's not about andha vishvasa, blind superstition, or childish magic that violates natural laws. It is about shravana, refined listening, listening to the invisible, listening to what vibrates in the intervals between events. The ancient Srishas, they already intuited this through dhyana, deep meditation. For them, the universe is not a chaotic cosmic accident, but consciousness, conscious intelligence, that expresses itself all the time through lila, divine play, even when it seems silent. For the meditation practitioner, chance is merely the superficial appearance of an order not yet grasped by the conceptual mind. The Buddha reminds us through sutras that it is not what happens externally that ultimately matters, but the artha, meaning that we give to what happens through the filter of our samskara synchronicity, then, is not a magical trick of manipulative fate. It is a reflection of the state of Atman, Alma. When we are in samadhi, in a state of unified attention, we see that life returns to us, in the form of external signs, what we carry internally in the subtle field. Perhaps you have already experienced this intensely. A music that plays at the exact moment you needed those words. A forgotten book on the shelf that, when opened by apparent chance, answers a question you hadn't yet clearly formulated in words. A person who appears out of nowhere, like desolate, divine messenger, with a phrase that dismantles you from the inside, breaking down rigid ego structures. None of this is niyatva abhava, absence of causality. They are many seams of the invisible, and each stitch has its reason for being in karma jala, karmic network. The Tao Te Ching says that the universe is change, constant transformation, and life is dristi, perspective, opinion. That is, everything is in perpetual motion following the average, cosmic order. But what makes sense of this movement is how we choose to interpret it through buddhi, intellect. Synchronicity doesn't impose anything through force. It invites gently, suggests subtly, indicates direction like a breeze that changes the sail's course, but only if the boat of consciousness has its sails open through awakening, vigilance. If you live closed in the cocoon of the ego, too busy with high sensory objects, too distracted by vikshepa, mental distraction, it passes and you don't even notice the subtle call. But if you are in a state of enlightened, awake, he begins to see the rights, pattern behind the fog of appearances, and this recognized pattern changes everything in the way of living. Lao Tzu said that no wind is favorable to those who do not know where they are going. Goal awareness, lack of a goal. but who has resolution, clear purpose, who has silenced the internal noise enough through mountain silence to hear what really matters, begins to realize that the external world responds through pratidvani, echo. It responds with encounters that seem magical, coincidences that defy odds, obstacles that push in the right direction like invisible hands, delays that prevent wrong turns, functioning as raksha, protection, names that are repeated in different conversations, phrases that cross paths from different sources, opportunities that appear when you are finally ready according to the clock of karmic maturation. It is not Maya Jadu, illusory magic. It's Samsiddhi, cosmic coherence. Synchronicity is the echo of what already lives within you through vasana, latent tendencies. You consciously focus on health, holistic healing. People appear who heal through their mere presence. You open yourself to according to divine love, cross paths with those who mirror exactly what you need to learn about loving beyond attachment. Do you want to, Parivartan, profound change? Situations that challenge your comfort zones arise ACE examination tests for your sahasam, courage. Everything vibrates in harmony with what you emanate through your bhava, state of being. But crucial note, synchronicity is not Alaska, passive complacency, does not replace karma, action, nor utardayatvam, personal responsibility. She is not a ready-made map handed to her on a silver platter. She is akuksigata, whisper, in the language of silence, a to me, arrow, drawn on the ground that only appears when you decide to walk through pravriti, movement. She doesn't walk the path for you like a servant. She reveals to you that the path exists and is alive, waiting for your steps. You can ignore it by avidya, ignorance. You can call it an empty coincidence and continue sleeping on autopilot dominated by samskara. But you can also, from now on, open your eyes, more savadana, conscious awareness. Observe what repeats itself as a pattern, what stands out from the common background, what seems like just an insignificant detail but provokes you. Between pants, internal movement. None of this is asambhata, irrelevant, in the fabric of reality. They are baby fragments of a silent conversation between what you are in essence and what life wants to show you through darshanam, revelation. The big question isn't, does this make logical sense? But rather, why is this appearing now, at this specific point in my journey? What is my antaryami, inner guide, is trying to communicate? The book that unexpectedly appears, the memory that returns like a wave, the name that reappears in different contexts. Everything has hetu, causal reason. Existence does not play dice randomly, it converses with those who developed it. Shravana Kala, the art of listening. If something unusually recurred today, don't ignore it through hasty rationalization. If a symbol touched you more deeply today than it logically should have, don't dismiss it as mere emotion. It could be life pointing with karuna, compassion, guides the next step. It may be the confirmation you needed to move forward. Nishtha, trust. It could be the warning sign you were ignoring out of fear. For those living in a state of ours, mindful presence, the whole world transforms into forebodings, prelude, incollected, signal. And when you start listening through the ears of hridaya, spiritual heart, no longer feels that existential loneliness of walking alone, knows that there is something greater, call it Tao, Dharma, Brahman, Buddha, nature, guiding through synchronicities, connecting seemingly separate events, weaving its story with wisdom. Because when the inner and outer eyes see together in Aikya unity, life finally begins to make profound sense beyond superficial explanations. The whisper of the wounds, painous language. Suffering has a voice of its own, although most of us have learned through conditioning to silence it with damba, false strength. When it arises through sorrow, painful sensation, we don't ask permission to listen to it attentively. We pretend through masks that it's not pulsing there. We fill the voids with vikshepa, distractions, and compulsive fillers. We hide the discomfort under automatic smiles of Maya, but silencing the pain doesn't make it disappear from the field. Try again. FD continues subtle aspect of consciousness. It merely transforms it into chaya, shadow, not integrated. waiting in the deep layers of chitta the right moment to return, stronger through repression, more insistent, asamskara undigested. Pain is not shapa, cosmic curse. It's not random noise from an indifferent universe. It is language. Language is a form of path vision, path guidance, and when understood in this way through wisdom, reveals itself as a naksha, map, traced by the invisible in our subtle body. What hurts points with precision. What throbs indicates direction. Every wound speaks through its own mantra, something that needs to be looked at more closely. Avadhana, careful, more presence, more satya, naked truth. The Tao Te Ching teaches, what is in the way becomes the way. The pain that once seemed to impede the journey through restriction, it becomes, in fact, themini, solo, where the truest steps will be taken towards awakening. To stop seeing it as a true enemy is the beginning of medical deep healing. When we recognize it as a process of prakashana revelation, we understand that there is jnana, wisdom, hidden in the harshest fragments of our personal history. The Buddha reminded us through sutras that it is not external events that harm us through some magical power, but thevikalpa conceptual judgments that we make about them through the filter of ahamkara. Suffering is amplified exponentially when we resist it through devesha, aversion, when we insist on denying it through defense mechanisms, when we swallow it disguised as false strength as if it were titiksha, tolerance. Resisting through contraction prolongs the cycle. Silencing stifles the message. Bhuchravana, listen, with sahasam, honest courage, is mukti, to liberate. All pain heard with dhairya, courage, is transformed through inner alchemy. Think of the pains that have marked you the most as fire examination, tests by fire. Perhaps a loss that disrupted your comfortable routine, an abandonment that destabilized your faith, trust, a failure that made you doubt your own essential nature. At the time, everything seemed Andhra Pradesh, dark, and irreversible as festival dissolution. But with time, and only with separate time, and vichara, investigation, you could see that something was being rebuilt in meditative silence. The pain opened vidar cracks in the ego's cocoon, and through those cracks it entered jyoti, light of consciousness. Suffering is agurukul, school, demanding that does not accept lazy students. He removes the unnecessary superfluous, cuts out the excesses of identification, and returns us to sara, essence. The masks of pratirupa, personas, fall away one by one. Distractions become unbearable in the face of the intensity, and what we truly are beyond the layers begins to emerge like the sun after the storm. Seneca said that it is in adversity that dormant talents awaken from their slumber. Alaska, it is in chaos that it is born karuna, genuine compassion. It is in loss that it is forged forgiveness, deep patience. It is in forced solitude that it reveals itself, soul power, inner strength. It's not about dukkha stuti, romanticizing what hurts, but giving pain a new place, not aspagra, villain, who punishes, but as teacher, master, that refines through the necessary friction. There are virtues that do not flourish indri, calm, and there are wisdoms that are only revealed when we are stripped of material comfort as if they were layers of an onion. Pain does not break us because cruelty, cosmic cruelty. It prepares us through tapas, transformative heat, refines by removing impurities, transforms through change, metamorphosis. Each tear carries a message, encoded message. Each disappointment empties what no longer served Desvadharma. Each anguish points to something that needs to be reinterpreted through a new interpretation. If someone hurts you with words and it destroys you internally, perhaps what hurts isn't exactly what was said externally, but what you believe about yourself through false intelligence, misunderstanding. If a loss completely devastates you, perhaps the lesson lies in learning from it. Patience, art of letting go, and non-attachment, conscious detachment. If failure paralyzes you in brother fear, perhaps it's time to realize that your core value doesn't depend on felicity in external result. What hurts intensely today may be what will allow you to, tomorrow, help to support someone who is going through the same valley. What now seems asaya, unbearable, could be the cradle of yours terya, resilience, future. No one gets through life unscathed in this samsara, but who listens to their own suffering with vinaya, humility, and sahasam, courage, comes out on the other side more vivek, lucid, more full, whole, more manushya, human in the deepest sense. It's not about actively seeking pain like a masochist. It's about not running away from it through rice field escape when it comes as an inevitable wave. It's about recognizing it as part of the yatra, existential journey. Because while we try to hide it through repression, it screams internally, creating more kaisal, affliction. But when we hear it with the ears of between Atman, being inside, she is Shanta, it calms, and leads us beyond suffering. So go to the comments and write, I hear the voice of my pain through karuna, compassion, and I transform it into Shakti, force, through sadhana, practice. This sentence is not a decorative ending, it's Aramba beginning true, a pratigya pact, with her own deft lucidity, a step towards a life where even suffering finds a shreya, conscious dwelling, not for you bandhan imprisoned, but to teach you moksha, the most difficult freedom, the one that is born within, in the cave of the heart, after the fall that shatters all the illusions of the ego. When the unpredictable teaches, akasmata's master. The unexpected rarely asks for permission through prior notice. It arrives as vidyut, lightning, that breaks down the door of conscience, undoes kalpanam plans, carefully constructed, disorganizes manners, routines, that gave the illusion of control, reverses what seemed nishchaya, correct. In akshana, second, everything changes radically. And most of the time, our first reaction is opposition, resistance, through the wounded ego. Why now, at this moment? Why so abruptly? Why me, when I tried to do everything right? But there's something sacred in this deviation that we did not plan through our limited will. That which takes us off the predefined path with an iron fist is often exactly what awakens us from nidra, I am spiritual. The unexpected, far from being a mistake in the cosmic journey, is a precise way for life to remind us that control is false illusion, and it is precisely in the absence of control that our svarupa, true essence, appears without masks. Surprise is the invisible hand of Ishvara that corrects our direction when we insist on remaining where we no longer fit, according to our own understanding, dharma. The Tao Te Ching teaches that nothing happens without hetu, reason, in the fabric of causality, and if that is satya, true, so even the events that most disconcert us through shock are part of a rakana, drawing, larger than our linear mind can encompass. The unexpected is part of it. Rita, order, not its chaotic opposite. When something breaks the comfortable sequence of days like a stone thrown into a tranquil lake, what we truly are beyond the masks emerges from the depths. It is in the clash with anishittata, uncertainty, that we discovered our dhairya, patience, or our arm, neurotic haste, our pleased serenity, or our bhaya pradarshana, panic display, our viveka, wisdom, or our pratikarmata, conditioned reactivity. The Buddha taught that it is not the facts themselves that harm us through some intrinsic power, but the way we interpret them through the filter of degree conditioning. And it is in the face of the unexpected that this lesson becomes more kathan, difficult, and more unnecessary, necessary. Because when everything goes according to the ego's script, it's easy to seem sattvika, virtuous, superficially. But a sudden turn is all it takes for us to be forced to decide, to resist through dvesha and suffer, or accept through neglect and grow. Yachakasmat surprise brings with it a gupta sandesh, hidden message. Sometimes what seems we are loss is raksha, protection, disguised. What it seems, mess, chaos, is punar vyavastha, realignment, is necessary. What arrives asapati, threat, is revealed later asashirvada, blessing, dressed in a different way. Lao Tzu said that no wind is favorable to those who do not know where they want to go. Lakshya sthapana. The unexpected part then is this: vayu, wind, that changes our course and forces us to redesign our destiny, not a scan, punishment, but as adjustment, cosmic adjustment. Think about parivartan, turning points that marked you. An unexpected encounter that changed the course of a decision. A dismissal that pushed you down a different path. Satya, authentic. A painful end that opened space for Aramba, beginning, impossible until then. What at the moment seemed destruction, ruin, later turned into publication, revelation. Life lulled to sleep by routine abhyasa. Repetition gives us the illusion of sthirta, stability. And stability, when it is not consciousness, conscious, becomes bandhan, prison, gilded. The unexpected breaks this Maya Pash, illusory spell. Hiyus awakening, wakes up, forces us, Tor evaluation, re-evaluating, what we took for granted without question, pushes us out of zones where there was no longer any doubt. Vikas, evolutionary learning. The unexpected doesn't come to destroy through violence, but to rebuild through punanirman, even if initially this comes in the form of bank apparent collapse. Eastern wisdom does not teach how to avoid the unexpected through magical rituals. It teaches how to svagat, to welcome it, as part of the flow of the Tao. The Bhagavad Gita suggested that we should receive each fact of life as if we had chosen it ourselves. Resolution, because in the end, everything that comes our way carries within it a part of ourselves. Prarabdha, karma, destination being executed. This drishtikon, attitude, radically changes everything. When we accept surprise through neglect, equanimity, it ceases to be fear-inducing, generating a threat, and becomes teacher. Of course, it isn't. Easy. It's easy to accept this. The unexpected directly confronts our obsession with control, based on insecurity. But it also offers something that no routine offers, parivartan, transformation, real and profound. It is he who pulls us out of our comfort zone and gives us the possibility of flying in directions we would never consider on our own through egoic choice. Anishittata, unpredictability, is uncomfortable due to human nature's search for security, but it is also upjo, fertile like soil after the rain. When everything breaks down externally, something new can be born internally through antarika srishti, inner creation. Uncertainty need not be seen as a true enemy that persecutes us. It can be set, bridge, to new states of consciousness. To achieve this, we need to stop demanding naksha purna, perfect maps, of the universe and start walking with faith, trust, in the mysterious process. The unexpected reveals itself through testing. Are you ready for ajnata, what you don't know? Are you willing to be transformed by what you didn't plan for through strategy? Are you open to the new even if it comes disguised? Sorrow, pain, initially. Chaos is often just a new order forming through change. The end is often just the beginning of another chakra cycle in the cosmic wheel. And the fear of losing control, when well understood through Vishara, transforms into Sharanagati surrender, not passive like a victim, but courageous like a spiritual warrior. Because those who welcome the unexpected with ours, mindful presence, discovers within oneself a Shakti, force, that I didn't know existed in the deep layers. So, choose change everything, through perspective. Turn surprises into wisdom, deviations in study, deep learning, losses in punarjanma, rebirth, and above all, prepare yourself for the only intention constant of life, parivartan, perpetual change. The space that loss opens. Patience, as a portal loss, is one of the most universal and, at the same time, most feared experiences of human existence. Samsara, we fear losing what is ours. Acquaintance, familiar, that which we love, thruman, attachment, that which gives us the illusory feeling of control over reality. When something is taken from us by the flow of time, be it a person, a phase, or stability, it is common to feel that something within us also disappears, as if our identity were tied to the external world. However, life never up a heron removes something without preparing it bhumi, ground, for what will come next in the next cycle. Tao Te Ching reminded us that everything we have is borrowed from nature through Lila, cosmic game, and that she can take back what she gave us at any time according to the laws of anitya, impermanence. This idea, although it may seem harsh at first glance, is liberating when truly understood through wisdom. She teaches us that the lobha, excessive attachment, generates suffering, while acceptance through neglect it offers us shanti, peace. Nothing belongs to us definitively in this kshanika jagat transitory world. And precisely for that reason, everything deserves to be lived more fully. Presence. Loss, far from being ashrapnel, karmic punishment, is a way that life has of pushing us towards nava aramba, new beginnings. When something falls like a leaf from a tree, the shunyata, the emptiness that remains, allows new possibilities to germinate like seeds in spring. A relationship that dissolves according to the natural cycle can open space for air union with oneself in silence. A work that comes to an end can be thejvala, spark, that ignites a purpose more aligned with svadharma. One phase that ends can give rise to another that reveals its true nature. Read inner strength. That which departs because its usefulness, the mission, has already been fulfilled on the karmic plane. Just as autumn bids farewell to its leaves so that spring can bloom in renewal, so too does loss in our lives. Purification cleans what is no longer useful for growth and prepares the soil for reincarnation, rebirth, stronger. There is no punarnirman, reconstruction, without vidvans, previous demolition. What now seems father, the end, can, with time and distance, be recognized as the beginning of something, mahan, greater. The pain of loss does indeed exist through sorrow, but it doesn't have to be just paralyzing pain. It can become advara, portal, through which we pass to new states of consciousness. The Buddha taught through sutras that we should not cling to things as if they were our own, shasvat, eternal, for everything is under the law of anicca, impermanence. Detachment is not indifference, emotional coldness, is viveka, discriminative wisdom. It is understanding through direct experience that we are not what we possess through identification, and that even when everything changes externally, our svarupa essence remains akshaya intact as a witness. Loss teaches us that we are more than temporary circumstances, more than the bonds that surround us at the moment. We are prakriti, perpetual motion. We are with friends, constant renewal. And losing is also a way of aggression to move forward on the evolutionary path. A abhava, absence, reveals the depth of what was previously present but not appreciated. Therefore, every loss also carries with it bihom, yes kritagyata, gratitude. Sometimes we only understand the value of something after it's physically gone. This recognition can seem vifalamba, late, but it is he who transforms the daily life. We moved on to noble, to value the simple, to give meaning to present now, to be grateful for what still remains around us. A Saundarya. The beauty of life intensifies when we accept its sleepless impermanence through meditative awareness. Seneca said that adversity reveals man to himself, and few experiences are as revealing as the pain of loss that tears away the veil. It strips him bare. Brahma carefully constructed illusions, remove the false sense of security and control, and place us before the dust essential question, what truly matters beyond appearances? Who are we when what we love departs from the physical plane? These issues, although difficult, as fire examination, proof by fire, are also the fertile ground of the true parivartan, transformation. The pain doesn't magically disappear when we accept the loss through resignation, but it becomes less of a burden. We stop fighting against the inevitable flow of average, and we started walking more awakened consciousness. Crying may still be a natural expression, but it is no longer. Opponent, resistance, is mukti, emotional release. Sadness doesn't dominate us like a tyrannical master. It simply passes through us as part of the natural cycle of everything that lives in us. Samsara, and when that lahari, the wave, passes through acceptance, something new emerges from the depths. Read, strength, spashta, clarity, paripakva, spiritual maturity. Detachment gives us back the shakti, power, stolen by attachment. It doesn't demand that we stop feeling human emotions, but that we stop being contraction to cling to what cannot remain according to natural law. Life never removes something without at some point being ready to offer something new through replacement. Sometimes it takes seasons, sometimes we can't see it immediately with our physical eyes, but when we look back through memorial memory, we often recognize what we lost ultimately opened a path we would never have willingly taken if we had had a choice. When we learn to sacrifice letting go through conscious practice, we cease to fear the pravaha flow of life. What goes away goes because it has fulfilled its function in Lila. What breaks, breaks because it was necessary for it to be so. According to Karma Niyama Loss reveals that our value lies not in what we possess externally, but in who we become when everything changes, our ability to remain conscious. And this invites us to faith, trust, in the larger process. Trust that absence can be full of hidden meaning, that Deshunya, empty, can also be ubjao and fertile, like a womb, and that every loss is, at its core, the silent announcement of a new stage about to begin through prarabdha karma maturing, the power of personal purpose, discovering your swadharma. Within every human being lies a silent force that pulses steadily like the beat of a cosmic drum, Svadharma, personal purpose. This strength is not imposed from the outside through social mandates. It does not arise from others' expectations based on comparison, nor can it be copied from others like a ready-made recipe. It emerges from the encounter with who we are in Svarupa essence, with that which moves us through premature, which inspires us through Udapan, which challenges us to grow beyond perceived limits. Discovering one's own purpose is not vigra, luxury of the privileged. It is a necessity, vital need of the soul. Because living without it is brahmana, wandering aimlessly, while living with him is fun, walking, with deep meaning. Eastern philosophy clearly understood that the true importance, the greatness of a human being does not lie in external recognition or popular, worldly fame, more than nishtha, fidelity, with which he fulfills the function that falls to him in the universe according to his svabhava, own nature. The Bhagavad Gita taught that each part exists to fulfill a function within the cosmic whole, and it is in the performance of that function with yukti, aligned virtue, that is found dry, genuine happiness. Being happy, then, is not about obtaining everything one desires through accumulation, but about aligning oneself with what one has come to achieve through karma, phala. Your spratibha, gifts, are no takshamata, random, distributed by lottery. That which you know how to do well naturally, that which excites you without forced effort, that which connects you with others and with the world through yoga. All of this points to your mission like arrows in mandala. These skills, passions, and sensitivities are signal clues, disha suchak, internal compasses, that indicate the path of contribution. Be teaching, to teach. His, her, take care with service. Inspiration, inspire. Nirman, to build, or simply shravana, listen, with total presence. Purpose is revealed in the sincere use of your talents when you put them at the service of something greater than yourself. Hamkara, limited ego. Lao Tzu stated that no one can be happy if they live against their nature. Nature, essential nature. Trying to follow another's path, however admirable it may seem outwardly, will always result in visangati, disconnect, if it's not aligned with your antarika, satya, inner truth. The purpose is not a ready-made role to be memorized like an actor. It is a history that is written step by step, revealing itself in each option, conscious choice, in each patience, renunciation, that strengthens your essence, in every moment you say, traitor, yes, to what really matters beyond appearances. Often it doesn't appear clearly right away like a lightning bolt. Instead, it reveals itself slowly, through the experience. Every mistake, every fall, every success, and every challenge are part of the process of anukoja, discovery. The Buddha taught that we should accept the place that life has entrusted to us and fill it with gaurav, conscious dignity. It's not about nirkar to resign oneself passively, but to recognize that the true mukti, freedom, is born when we stop resisting our true calling and begin to act accordingly. Answer, responsibility. in the face of the mission that existence has entrusted to us through prarabdha. Living with purpose transforms even the simplest gestures into acts of profound meaning. It doesn't matter if your work, the task, seems small in the eyes of the competitive world. What makes it daily grand is the bhavana, intention, with which it is done through awareness. When you act in accordance with your inner calling through prayer, even tiredness is full of meaning, because you know your energy is being invested where it truly matters, according to your own judgment. Dharma. Of course, living with purpose doesn't mean landing constant ease. On the contrary, it often demands courage to say no to what does not resonate with your truth. Shaktito remains steadfast when results are delayed, according to expectations, and Vinaya, humility, to start over as many times as necessary after falling. But it is precisely in these challenges that the touch clarity intensifies like refined metal. When there is dish clear direction, there is therya, firmness. He who knows his way through svavichara, don't get lost in the detours of a chaotic world. The Tao Te Ching advised asking yourself every day, why am I here right now? What is my purpose? Duties should today. This question, though simple in its formulation, has the power to bring us back to Madhya, center. She calls us back, Tomul, essential, to which try again, it cannot be ignored without consequences for the soul. Because a life without purpose is a life, visamrita, forgetful of herself, asleep on autopilot of samskara. Life with purpose is presence, active presence, isvari, coherence, between integrated thought, word, and action. It's a life that leaves behind chikna, subtle yet profound traces, that inspire through silent example, that transform through authenticity. Someone's legacy isn't measured by how many things they've accumulated in warehouses, but by how much they've contributed, artha meaning, put into their daily actions. Whoever lives with purpose, sparsha it touches, lives, even in meditative silence. It's not about kirti, fame, but of satya, truth embodied. Not of external greatness measured in metrics, but of gambhirya, inner depth, cultivated. Discovering your purpose and living it is the greatest thing. Upahara gift that you can give to yourself and also to everyone around you in this samsara. Because when you live in alignment with your svadharma, you become a beacon of possibility for others who are still searching for their way through the fog. Integrating the wisdom of the path, we have reached the end of this journey through the teachings that integrate the ancient wisdom of the East. Each word has been woven with the intention of awakening in you not only intellectual understanding, bhutanubhuti, lived experience, of truth that transcends concepts. If you've made it this far, congratulations. That shows you have, mother-in-law, genuine desire for liberation, and seeks to improve as a human being through adhyatma sadhana, spiritual practice. It wasn't a casual reading, it was a yatra, pilgrimage, through the layers of consciousness. Daily practice. Now comes the most important part. Integrate these teachings into your daily life through abhyasa, constant practice. Because wisdom that is not applied remains like a seed that never germinates. Eastern knowledge has always emphasized that jnana, knowledge, without vijnana, experiential wisdom, is like a light bulb that has gone out. Start with small steps. Practical anapanasati, breath meditation. Daily, even if only for 10 minutes. Cultivate svadhyaya, self-study. Through observation of your mental patterns, develop karuna, compassion, and metta, loving kindness, towards oneself and others. Oil toanika, impermanence, of all things with neglect, equanimity. Live each moment with hours, mindfulness, instead of autopilot. If this message touched your soul, leave your comment below. If you don't know what to write, simply write, gratitude, kritagyata, gratidon, this will be yours. Resolution, sacred commitment, that he watched until the end and is willing to walk the path consciously. That way I'll know you weren't just a passive spectator, but a sadhaka, committed practitioner. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and join our community, Sangha, spiritual community. Eastern philosophy is full of teachings like these that are applicable to our daily lives, transforming the mundane into the sacred. Therefore, I encourage you to continue learning about this ancient wisdom that has spanned millennia because it contains universal and timeless truths.